She tossed you aside as if you were replaceable. She told you she wasn't happy anymore, that she needed time, that you were too jealous, or that she simply didn't feel the same way. She flipped the script and made it seem like every problem was yours, as if loving truly was a flaw, as if prioritizing her was a character defect. And you stood there, shattered inside, wondering where you went wrong, replaying every conversation, every moment, trying to understand how someone you loved so much could erase you from her life with such ease. The first few months were an emotional massacre. You saw her stories, parties, drinks with friends, motivational quotes about new beginnings and self-love, photos with perfect filters showing an apparently amazing life. She looked reborn, free, empowered, as if you had been a burden she finally dropped. Meanwhile, you were at rock bottom. Insomnia, loss of appetite, that suffocating feeling that you weren't man enough, that you failed. You saw her interacting with other guys in the comments, receiving compliments, being desired, and every notification felt like a punch to the gut. You felt used, discarded, humiliated, as if all your love, your loyalty, your dedication were worth absolutely nothing. But then, something shifted. Maybe it was the desperation that forced you to seek help. Maybe it was that brother who dragged you out of the house. Maybe it was simply the exhaustion of suffering, but you started to rebuild yourself. You understood that the problem was never you. You realized that being a man who loves truly, who commits, who is present, isn't a weakness, it's a rarity. And you decided to get back up, not to prove anything to her, but to reclaim your own dignity. And it was exactly when you stopped looking back, when you got back to the gym, when you started going out with friends again, when you finally smiled genuinely after months, that she reappeared. It started with that status view that never came before. Then came the discreet like on an old photo. Then that casual 2 a.m. message, "Hey, how are you?" Next were the long voice notes reminiscing about moments you shared. And you realized, she's desperate. She's regretful. She wants to come back. Because the lie they sold her, that she'd be happier living her experiences, that there are millions of better options out there, that she deserved something more exciting, blew up in her face. Real life arrived unfiltered. The interesting guys she met only wanted sex and ghosted her later. The Instagram crush was just a facade and kept leaving her on read. The dating apps became a parade of empty, emotionally unavailable men who couldn't even hold a decent conversation. Now she's truly alone. Not that romantic solitude from movies, but that heavy, silent loneliness that hits at 3 a.m. when she remembers what it felt like to be loved by someone who actually cared. And you know the most brutal part of all this? Now that she's finally woken up, now that she realizes leaving you was the biggest mistake of her life, now that she's begging for a second chance, you are no longer the same broken man she left behind. You've evolved. You understood your value. You are no longer emotionally available for someone who threw you away when it was convenient. And it is precisely this detachment, this refusal to come running back when she snaps her fingers, that makes her want you even more now. That is exactly why today I am going to show you the 5 reasons that explain why women regret failing you and desperately want you to take them back. From now on, you will hear everything the media hides from you, the hidden truth that many fear to speak openly. Therefore, subscribe to the channel immediately, hit the notification bell, leave your like, and comment from which city you are watching us so the algorithm pushes this video to more men who are blind to the reality we show here. It's not enough for you to wake up alone. We need to create a network of conscious and informed men. Now, let's get to what really matters. First reason, true love has become scarce, and they only notice after they lose it. We live in an era where everything is disposable, from objects to relationships. Social media created an illusion of infinite abundance. Thousands of profiles, thousands of possibilities, thousands of potential partners a swipe away. This false sense that there's always someone better waiting around the next corner made people stop valuing what they have in their hands. And she fell into that trap. When she was with you, she didn't see the value of what she had because she thought true love was common, easy to find, that all she had to do was open the app and, poof, another man as dedicated as you would appear. She believed the lie that you were replaceable, that there were dozens of guys willing to love her the same way you did. But there aren't. After she lost you, reality hit hard. She started meeting other men and realized most just wanted fun, something casual, with no real commitment. Guys who talked a good game at first but vanished when things got serious. Men who are emotionally unavailable, still hung up on exes, or simply incapable of loving truly. She went from disappointment to disappointment, realizing that what you offered, genuine loyalty, constant presence, love without games, true commitment, was something extremely rare. She finally understood that you weren't just another guy. You were the exception in a sea of mediocrity. And now that she's desperately looking for someone to make her feel what you made her feel, she only finds cheap, fake versions of what you two had. The regret came when she realized that no app, no social media, no number of matches can replace the quality of what you built together. She finally woke up to the fact that true love isn't about intense emotion and butterflies every week. Any superficial fling can provide that. True love is about being present on difficult days. It's about choosing the same person every day even when it's not easy. It's about building something solid amidst the chaos. And you offered that. You were the type of man women say they're looking for, but many only value after they lose. Now she knows it. Now she looks around and sees that what she had with you was gold, but she only realized it after she threw it all away. Second reason, because the new guys disappear after the first night. When she broke up with you, she had a fantasy in her head. She imagined she'd be desired, courted, that she'd have lines of interesting men wanting something serious with her. She believed the narrative of her single friends, the movies, the series, that there's better out there. On the first few dates, she even felt that initial excitement. Handsome guys giving her attention, striking up conversations, buying drinks, making promises. She felt powerful, desired, in control. She was finally living, experiencing this much romanticized freedom. But then came the part no one talks about. After the first night, after these guys got what they wanted, they simply evaporated. Messages that once came every 5 minutes now took days. Plans that seemed concrete turned into flimsy excuses. And she was left there, confused, wondering what she had done wrong. The cruel truth is that most men she met after you weren't interested in building anything. They were playing a completely different game, a game of quick conquest, instant gratification, and zero emotional commitment. They knew exactly what to say, how to act, which buttons to push to get what they wanted. And after they got it, they simply moved on to the next one. She became a statistic, just another one on the list of women these guys collect and discard. And the worst part, she realized that to these men, she was never special. She was just another convenient option, another name in the phone book, another meaningless night. While with you she was unique, irreplaceable, the absolute priority. Now she was just one more among many others. The ghosting, the cold texts, the broken promises, all of this slowly destroyed her self-esteem. She started to question herself. Am I not attractive enough anymore? Did I do something wrong? Why doesn't anyone stay? But the answer is simple and painful. She was looking in the wrong places, with the wrong people, at the wrong time. She gave up a man who truly cared, who was there in the good times and the bad, who didn't disappear after getting what he wanted, because you wanted her person, not just her body. And now she's stuck in this vicious cycle of meeting guys who promise the world and deliver only disappointment. She wants to come back because she finally understood the difference between a man who loves and a man who merely desires. And you were the former. Third reason, because today she's treated as an option, not a priority. When you two were together, she was your priority. You canceled commitments to be with her when she needed it. You remembered the details, her favorite dish, the movie she wanted to watch, the day she had that important meeting at work. You planned your future together, included her in your decisions, made a point of introducing her to your family and friends. She knew she had a special place in your life. She wasn't just a girl, she was the girl. But at the time, she didn't value it. She found it suffocating, thought you were too intense, that you were rushing things. She wanted something lighter, more uncomplicated, more free. And now she's discovering what it's truly like to be treated as an option, and she's hating every second of it. The guys she meets today keep her on the back burner. They respond when they feel like it, make last-minute plans if they have time, never commit to anything serious because they're always seeing how it goes. They don't make weekend plans with her, they wait to see if something better comes along. They don't introduce her to anyone important in their lives because she's not important enough. When she posts something on social media, they don't interact, because they don't want other women to know they're seeing her. They never talk about the future, never show real commitment, and always make it clear between the lines that she is replaceable. She is experiencing firsthand what it's like to compete for the attention of someone who has 10 parallel conversations happening at once, someone who is always evaluating if there's a better option. This dynamic is destroying her inside, because she finally understood what it means to be truly valued, and she only realized it after losing it. With you, she didn't have to fight for attention, didn't have to beg for quality time, didn't have to feel anxious waiting for a reply. You were there, present, constant, without games. Now she wakes up every morning checking her phone to see if the guy of the moment finally replied to a 2-day-old message. She makes plans alone because she can't rely on anyone. She feels invisible, disposable, unimportant. And deep down she knows, she threw away a man who put her first to live surrounded by men who barely put her on the list. The regret gnaws at her every day, because she traded certainty for uncertainty, stability for chaos, real love for crumbs of attention. Fourth reason, because now they live solitude disguised as freedom. She sold the narrative to everyone, and especially to herself, that she needed freedom. Freedom to go out whenever she wanted, do whatever she wanted, not have to report to anyone, live life on her own terms. And in the first few months, that even seemed true. She went out every week, traveled, posted photos in beautiful places with captions about finding herself and loving herself first. The likes poured in, the comments inflated her ego, and superficially it seemed like she was living her best life. But behind the social media facade, a deep loneliness was growing. Because freedom without purpose is just emptiness. Independence without real connection is just isolation by another name. The truth she wouldn't admit to anyone, not even herself, is that she came home after parties and felt a massive hole in her chest. She woke up on Sundays with no one to have coffee with, no one to watch that silly series you two liked, no one to talk to about the week's plans. She traveled to beautiful places but had no one to truly share those moments with, only superficial stories for people who didn't genuinely care. When something important happened, an achievement at work, a bad day, family news, she had no one to call. Her friends were busy with their own lives, the guys she met weren't interested in anything beyond the superficial, and she found herself completely alone. That freedom she so idealized turned into a silent prison where she was free to do everything, but had no one real by her side. Now she understands that freedom is not the absence of commitment. It's being able to be who you are next to someone who accepts you completely. She realized that all that performative independence on social media doesn't fill the void of not having someone who truly cares waiting for you at home. It doesn't replace the tight hug after a tough day, the shared laugh with someone who truly knows you, the feeling of security of knowing there's someone who is unconditionally on your side. She traded all that for an illusion sold by the internet, for a romantic idea of freedom that in practice is just solitude masked as empowerment. And now that the mask has fallen, she desperately wants to go back to what she had, because she finally understood that having someone who truly loves you isn't losing freedom, it's gaining an emotional home. And you were that home. Fifth reason, because she misses being cared for without having to ask. You really knew her. You could tell when she was upset just by the tone of her voice. You noticed when she needed space and when she needed comfort. You remembered that she didn't like onions in her food, that she had that important meeting on Thursday, that she got anxious when you took too long to reply. You cared for her in the details. You got her medicine when she was sick, warmed up her food when she got home late from work, sent a message in the middle of the day just to see if everything was okay. And most importantly, you did all this without her having to ask, without her having to beg for attention or explain 1,000 times what she was feeling. You were simply present, attentive, caring. It was natural for you because you genuinely cared. But she didn't value it at the time. She thought anyone would do the same, that it was the bare minimum, that it was an obligation. Now she is discovering firsthand that no, that is not the bare minimum. That is exceptional. The guys she meets today are emotionally illiterate. They don't notice when she's upset unless she has a complete breakdown. They don't remember anything she tells them because they don't truly pay attention. When she's sick, they send a "get well soon" message and vanish. When she has a tough day, they don't notice, or worse, they notice and simply don't care. She has to explicitly ask for everything: attention, affection, presence, understanding. And even when she asks, most of the time she receives minimal, uninterested effort. She's tired of having to teach grown men basic empathy, of having to beg for the kind of care you naturally offered every day. What she misses are not the grand romantic gestures, it's the small acts of daily care that showed you paid attention to her. The cup of tea you made just the way she liked it. The jacket you offered when she was cold. The playlist you made with songs that reminded her of you. The way you asked about her day and truly listened to the answer. These details seem silly until you lose someone who did them. Now she's surrounded by people but feels completely emotionally unsupported. No one cares for her like you did. No one knows her like you did. No one shows love in the silent, constant way you did. And this lack is consuming her, because she finally understood that being truly loved isn't about flowers and fancy dinners. It's about having someone who sees you, who understands you, who is there in the daily details without you having to plead for it. And that someone was you. Sixth reason, because she realized there is no substitute for someone who was genuine. She tried to replace you. I swear she tried. She went out with guys who were better looking, more successful, more popular, funnier. She met people with impeccable profiles, who said all the right things, who seemed perfect on paper. She made an effort to feel for these men what she felt for you, to create connections, to fall in love again. But no matter how many times she tried, something was always missing. Because the brutal truth that took her a long time to accept is that you weren't special for being the most handsome, the richest, or the most interesting. You were special because you were genuine. And authenticity cannot be copied, replicated, or substituted. She might find men who are better in various superficial aspects, but she will never find someone who loved her with the same truth you did. The problem is that we live in an era of performative people. Everyone is playing a role, showing an edited version of themselves, selling an image that doesn't correspond to reality. The guys she meets now know exactly what to say to impress. They follow seduction scripts. They copy behaviors they see working with other women. They are good actors, but terrible true lovers. With you it was different. You weren't trying to impress anyone, you simply were who you were. Your flaws were real, but your love was too. You didn't fake interest, you truly cared. You didn't follow any manual, you acted from the heart. And that raw authenticity, without filters, without masks, without games, that is irreplaceable. She can spend her whole life searching and never find another man who was as genuine as you. Now she looks back and realizes she was looking for you in every new person she met. She compared everything, the way they talked, laughed, hugged, showed affection. No kiss tasted the same. No conversation had the same depth. No presence brought the same peace. She tried to convince herself that she was being too demanding, that she needed to give these new people a chance, that she was stuck in the past. But the truth is that there is no substitute for something real. You can exchange one industrialized product for another similar one, but there is no substitute for something handcrafted, unique, true. And the love you offered was handcrafted, personalized, dedicated, built day after day with genuine effort. She finally understood that she threw away something irreplaceable. And this realization is gnawing at her from within, because she knows she can spend the rest of her life searching and never again find someone as real as you were. Seventh reason, because you moved on peacefully, and that destroyed her inside. She expected you to beg. She imagined you would be devastated, sending desperate messages in the middle of the night, calling drunk saying you couldn't live without her, making dramatic scenes begging for one more chance. She thought you would chase her, that you would keep posting cryptic messages on social media, that you would spend months destroyed, thereby proving how important she was, how much you loved her. Deep down, she wanted you to suffer, not out of malice, but because it would feed her ego, validate her decision, make her feel desired and powerful. But you did something she didn't expect. You respected yourself. You cried, suffered, went through the grief of the relationship. But you did it with dignity, away from her. And when the internal storm passed, you simply moved on. And it was precisely this peace that destroyed her. When she saw that you weren't chasing her anymore, that you weren't on her social media anymore, that you no longer sent those messages checking how she was, something inside her panicked. She realized she had lost control of the situation. You were no longer emotionally available, no longer trapped by her, no longer suffering. You were actually living, going out with friends, traveling, working out, genuinely smiling in photos. And worse, she saw other women commenting on your photos, realized you were being noticed, that your life was improving without her. That was a slap of reality in her face. She thought she would be irreplaceable, that you would be eternally waiting for her to return, that she would always have that safe plan B in case single life didn't work out. But you ripped that security away from her when you decided that your value didn't depend on someone who didn't know how to value you. Your indifference became the greatest torture for her. Because the indifference of someone who once loved you is the most painful confirmation that you truly lost that person. If you were suffering, crying, desperate, she would still have hope, she would still feel important, she would still have power over you. But your peace, your evolution, your life continuing without her. This shows that you genuinely overcame it, that she became the past, that you no longer need her to be happy. And this is killing her inside. She wants to come back not just because she misses you, but because she desperately needs to regain that feeling of being important in your life. She wants to be relevant again, wants to occupy your thoughts, wants to have that special place she had before. But you already understood your value. You already realized that a man who loves truly cannot wait eternally for someone who discarded him. And it is precisely this posture, this self-respect, this ability to move forward with dignity, that makes her desire you more than ever. Because now you are what she can't have. And nothing is more attractive to someone who lost you than realizing you're doing fine without them. If this video made sense to you, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and comment, gratitude. This helps the algorithm spread this message to other men who need to know the teachings of our channel. Every interaction strengthens this mission to open eyes and rescue masculine self-esteem. Thank you for being here. Keep following, because every week we bring reflections and tools to help you regain emotional control and become your best version. Big hug, and see you in the next video.